you.
Welcome to the Livewell, episode 61. We are talking about pre-spawn tonight. Here's Danny Pruitt with tonight's panel.
All right, guys, welcome to the Livewell tonight. I have to admit, I love listening to Paul's professional intro into that, so I always get a kick out of that. But guys, thank you for joining us tonight. This Thursday night, it's kind of rainy outside, so we're going to sit here and talk some fishing for a while, and we appreciate you taking your time, as always, to join us. And I got a bit of a special treat tonight for you. It was just going to be me and Ryan, but we got Mr. Jeremiah Giles in the house who came up and seen us. And while he was here, I said, hey, just jump on and let's get you down there and let's talk some pre-spawn fishing and all that. So glad he's here, and it's going to be a good show. So if you were watching on YouTube, I want to make sure you click the like and subscribe button and make sure you click that notification bell. It's very important for us to help grow the channel. So make sure you do that. And again, on all our other social media, watch us, Facebook, the Facebook group page, Instagram, TikTok. Hey, we really need you to go follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and all that kind of stuff. And also, if you're looking for a little more in-depth stuff, check us out on the Patreon right there. Ryan's doing lessons and stuff like that. Some really good stuff. So again, we appreciate it. You guys get started in the comment sections over there so we can read your comments. This show is also going to be I'm going to start putting these things back on iTunes and Spotify. Again, starting with this show, I'll go back and do a couple of episodes, but tonight, this is going to be the first one.
Excuse me.
Way to go, Ryan. He's right there. So anyway, thank you for joining us. And let's take care of some business first. This first section is brought to you by For Her Outdoor Apparel. Miss Jennifer and Miss Peyton. Guys, you hear us talking about it all the time. Big time supporters of our local community. If you pay attention, they're supporting a lot of anglers. And, of course, they support us here at Fish North Georgia. Got some great events coming up. I'm going to let Ryan talk about those here in a second. He didn't know that, but now he does. But, again, go to forheroutdoor.com. And created for women, by women. A lot of great apparel geared towards women. But, again, there's a lot of stuff that you guys will wear, too. Some really good stuff, some cool designs. Definitely go check them out at forheroutdoor.com. And real quick, Ryan, while I've got it on my mind, I don't want to miss it this week. Go ahead and tell everybody about the two events that For Her has going on.
March 25th at Bolden Mill, there is a ladies/children's tournament going on. You can have up to, I believe, 2 in the boat, 2 ladies, 2 kids, however it may be, along with the boater, whether he's a male or female, doesn't matter. That will be at Bolden Mill, March 25th. It'll be from 7 a.m. to 12. And it is bass, crappie, you name it, and it's a $25 entry fee. Right. And then the other thing is April 22nd.
This is the big one.
April 22nd is the what is the exact name of it again?
It's
Let's Go Fishing.
Let's Go Fishing.
Let's Go Fishing with For Her Outdoor Apparel. And it is going to be, we're going to have some vendors there. We're going to have some guides there. Danny will be cooking hamburgers and hot dogs.
Woohoo!
We're going to have everyone who pre-registers for the event, you get a shirt, a rod and a reel, and I believe some stickers and stuff from For Her Outdoor Apparel. I'm not 100% sure what else it is. We'll get it squared away with Jennifer, exactly everything everyone's getting it. But the only way to get the rod and the reel and the shirt and everything is you have to pre-register. So you go to pre-register. It's on the Lord, what is that thing
That
called?
is Eventbrite.com.
Eventbrite. I never can remember it off the top of my head. Eventbrite.com, and type in For Her Outdoor, and it will come right up with the Let's Go Fishing event. So pre-register for that. I think she said today I already got 62. Yep. 62 have already been pre-registered. So guys, it's growing. We're right here at a month out. What is today? Today is the 23rd. So a month out. 2 months out. 2 months out, basically. For that April 22nd. It'll be at Mary Alice Park.
And the whole purpose of that event is to get women and children into the sport of fishing.
Absolutely.
And so we want to make them comfortable. And so for every participant, I think we're going to maybe put them in groups of 2. And for every 2 people, there'll be an instructor. And we're going to kind of walk through the basics, get everybody really comfortable with a rod, because we want everybody to be able to enjoy this great sport of fishing. So that was a little unfair of me throwing that on you without warning, but you did a fine job.
I wasn't ready.
You wasn't, but you know why I made you do it?
Why?
because I wasn't ready.
Oh, so see, I got
So there you
see
go.
TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. I get thrown on things that I've never ever prepared.
That's right.
For,
So Ryan's talking to the TikTok crowd we got going on as well too. Guys, listen, we're having a lot of fun with the TikTok. If you're not on TikTok, you need to get on there. One of my favorite things about TikTok is the comments. We really have a knack at really getting people upset on TikTok. It's kind of fun sometimes. We get some good comments too, but a lot of opinionated people on TikTok.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun. So go to Fish North Georgia on TikTok. So now, all right, we took care of a little bit of business. We're going to talk pre-spawn bass fishing. It's about that time of the year. The water temp is pushing up into the upper 50s, I would say, Ryan. You like that? Now, Jeremiah, I don't know if you've been recently, the temps you've seen. About like that. I mean, you would say upper 50s, fish are starting to move up.
The places that I've been here recently, it hasn't been as high as like the high 50s, but it's been kind of like low and mid 50s.
Low and mid 50s.
Mhm.
Okay. So you
Okay.
saw, what did you see Sunday or Tuesday when you went?
Okay, so Saturday at Chatoog, we seen 56.
Yep.
Sunday on the near, I found 57.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday on the near, we found 56, almost 57. Wednesday, we found 58.
You notice the pattern. He's on the water a lot.
Yeah.
He spent a lot of time on the water this week. So
But it's that time of year.
it's that time of year. So guys, so basically what we're going
If
to
you're
do,
not out there,
yeah, this is the time of the year that you're going to catch these big girls are moving up. And no offense if you females are watching, that's just, it is what it is. So that time of year where they're
We're
feeding
in
up,
Georgia.
getting ready,
we're in North Georgia.
North Georgia.
Someone
So
just asked on TikTok where we're at. We're in North Georgia.
there we go. So George Smith, guys, what's up? I want to make sure I don't miss any of the questions if we got them. So 58, 59 on Lanier yesterday, low 50s on Lanier. So it's a little variable. I don't know how this rain that we're going to have coming in, but we're not going to have any really cold nights involved with it. So it should stay steady and moving up. But again, what we want to talk about tonight is tactics and, whatever to get you more prepared to be successful on the water. So that's what we're here for. So I'm going to let Ryan start tonight. My first question.
Start.
Huh?
Why not let our guest start?
Well, I'm going to start with you. Because, are you ready?
Yeah.
Can we do it? All right. So
that's fine.
what I want you to
Ready to
explain, and I'm going to get his opinion too. What does pre-spawn mean to you? What are you looking for pre-spawn fish? What registers in your brain that says, okay, pre-spawn is on?
The bigger females start to move shallow, and they start hitting on stuff that I like to throw, and they get out of that wintertime pattern. The reason why they get out of that wintertime pattern is because the females start to develop their eggs. They've already been developing eggs for a little while now, but they got to go shallow in order to find the warmer water, in order to basically incubate their eggs.
Okay.
To get ready to spawn.
Okay.
And that's the only way they can do it. Is they got to get shallow. They got to find the warmest water they could possibly get to. The other thing is too, a part of that, they're not feeding for themselves anymore. They're feeding for themselves and hundreds of thousands of little babies.
Okay.
And they've got to eat, and they like to eat, and they're a lot more susceptible February through end of February through 1st of April. Depending upon how the waves come, they're very susceptible to being caught. Don't think I'm saying this like to being sarcastic or anything, but they get a little easier to catch.
Okay.
A little bit, and you can kind of call your shots a little bit better. You get a little bit more predictable on
Okay.
what you can do. It gets the time of the year now where you can pretty much put one or two things in your hand and pretty much just keep those one or two things in your hand. There are a bunch of different options, and we're going to go over a lot of the different options to go over tonight. But out of all these options, and with some of them, the other ones that we don't necessarily have, that Jeremiah went and picked up, he wanted to show off as we talk about them. Some of these options that he has, these are not like the options that okay, this is the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
By no means. These are just a few of the options that are easy presentations, easy things to do, and they work.
Okay. So
The biggest thing is they work. No matter where you go, they work.
okay.
It happens. You can glue a couple of these baits that he has over here in your hand and not think too hard about it.
And catch
And you can
fish.
catch fish.
Okay. Jeremiah, I'm going to pose the same question to you. What does pre-spawn mean to you?
Okay, pre-spawn means to me it's basically go time. Like the fish go from nothing to all of a sudden being like incredibly active. Especially if you had a really cold winter and it comes through, it basically shuts them down. Especially if you're fishing for largemouth, it gets too cold where numbers go down, but you kind of just sporadically get some decent sized fish here and there. But when pre-spawn comes around, the fish are big and they're as reckless as they're going to be all year. They're just real big, real dumb. Real easy to catch. It's your golden opportunity to catch the biggest bass of the season. Most of the big fish that are caught around the country are normally February, March fish, even if you look at the statistics and things like that. And it's just a really good opportunity to get both numbers and size. You can get both. Those fish will, it's a transition period. They come from their deep water wintering holes and things like that, and they come up to where they're more accessible for people. They're easy to catch. They're predictable. They're really big and they're really aggressive. So, like Ryan was saying, they get easier to catch. You don't have to work as hard. So, all you people who had been fishing throughout the wintertime and struggling, now is about the time where you need to be getting out on the water and really getting at it, because this is the time where you can catch not only the most bass you've ever caught, have some of the best days that you've ever had on the water, but you can get the biggest bass of your life. Right?
Okay.
100%.
Now I'm going to give you this question first. Pre-spawn, is it more dictated by water temp or by the length of days, or both?
I think it's a combination of both. The water temperature and the length of the day are the two main factors. A lot of people fish by the calendar, and you don't really want to fish by the calendar. You want to fish by conditions. With the weather changing and staying consistent, like those warm nights come by and stay, that's when pre-spawn really starts to kick off, because what happened is the fish will be transitioning and moving up into shallower and shallower water. But if you get a cold front come through, it'll knock them back. So they're moving up, getting pushed back, moving up, getting pushed back over and over again. And then eventually, when it gets warm and stays warm and the days start to get a little bit longer, those fish are going to come up and they're going to stay put. They're not going to move. Even if a front does come through, it'll push them back, but it'll be temporary. They'll come back pretty soon right after.
Yeah, and one of the things around here that we have not had this year is cold weather.
Yeah.
We have not had a prolonged period of absolute cold weather to really knock these fish back. So this year they ought to be ready to go pretty quick. What about you as far as length of days and temperature? What do you look for?
A little bit of a combination of both. I kind of lean more towards the length of day.
Okay.
More so than water temperature. Water temperature plays a big part in it. I mean, I agree 100% with Jeremiah. Like I said, I'm a little bit. I agree that both of them play a big factor. But I have seen over the years where sometimes length of days will dictate things a little bit more than warmer water temperatures. And the reason why I say that is sometimes the water temperature ain't quite right, but the days have gotten long enough to where some of those fish go and they're up there and they just stay up there.
Right.
And they
just something in here says
something genetically they know that it's ready, it's time to go. So, I think you have on all these lakes, no matter where you fish, or whether it's not just in North Georgia, anywhere, you're noticing this if you guys pay attention to the Seminole event today. You had guys catching some post-spawn fish. You had some guys catching some pre-spawn fish. And then you also had a handful of guys that were snatching fish off the bed. So, it seemed to be today there were more post-spawn fish caught.
We noticed that, yeah.
Than that. But just like up here, the same thing that's happened on down there in Bainbridge, Georgia, it's going to keep getting warmer.
Right.
So you're going to have another wave. The bass don't all spawn at the same time. They definitely don't all spawn at the same time.
Right.
They may hit it just right here in the next couple of days with the way the moon phase is. We got a full moon coming up here in the next week or so. There's going to be some fish that pull up, but they're going to pull up out of their wintering holes, and they're going to be like this, and the water temperature down there is in the mid-60s, mid-low 60s. Time to go. So
I got a quick question. Either one of you guys can answer this. Will the herring spawn and bass spawn happen at the same time? Either one of you.
It goes on at the same time, but it not like you won't see it in March much.
Right.
The herring spawn's usually a little later, wouldn't you think?
Last year we had some herring spawn abnormally early, but not all the herring spawned early. Typically your first major wave of the herring spawn is that first real major full moon in April.
Okay.
That first major full moon in April, you will have a good population of herring spawn. Shad is completely different. Shad is later on. You start looking for a shad spawn later on in May.
Okay.
All right.
Joseph Castleberry, yes, he's got your evergreens. Kevin Underwood, how you doing? Richie Rock and Roll, that's a name I don't recall seeing too much, but pull up Ron Swinford's comment right there because we haven't discussed this. Water levels make a huge
awesome dude.
Yeah. Water levels make a huge difference to largemouth trying to spawn. If the water levels are not stable or falling, the fish will get really skittish as they wait for the water to get right.
Yes.
Now, Lanier, of course, is pretty stable, and that's our main lake right now. But Allatoona and other lakes like Chattooga, Nolly, I don't know about Chattooga. They draw down.
Chattooga is down right now.
So they're all
we were
down
up
like
there
that.
Saturday, and it's 8 feet below full pool.
Okay.
Notley's about 20.
Yeah, Notley goes down
It's-
crazy.
it's-
The TVA lakes.
The TVA lakes,
TVA
are
lakes
down
get
real
pulled
low.
down. All right, let me throw this question at you. Which of the two species that are predominant around here, largemouth and spotted bass, which start moving up first? Jeremiah, you can go with that.
Largemouth.
You think the largemouth
I
move up
think
first?
it's largemouth. I think they spawn at a little bit lower water temperature, and they move up. And they'll spawn in shallow water too. But spotted bass will spawn in like 10 feet of water. Largemouth will get on the bank.
Right,
And
that is true around here. Lake like Lanier, Ryan, what are you thinking as far as what you've seen? Spotted bass or largemouth? And the largemouth are generally more shallow year round anyway, correct?
Most, not all of them. A fair amount of them stay shallow all the time, but there's still a lot of them that move out deep, move out into the timber and stuff like that. And pull up. Those are generally in the winter. Those are generally the bigger largemouth. Those are the T-bone steaks.
Right.
But the spotted bass spotted bass are mold breakers.
They don't do what
They
you
kind of
think.
do whatever the hell they want to do.
That's about
I mean,
right.
they
That's
really,
right.
I mean, they'll be 44-degree water temperature, and they'll be up there like, why the hell are you on the damn bank? And then it'll be 55-degree water temperature, and like, why are you out here suspended over 50 feet of water? I mean,
That's
they,
right.
They just kind of do whatever they want to do.
That's right. Did you have something to add to that? I saw you kind of perk up a little bit.
Yeah, he actually just helped me to remember something. During the pre-spawn, when he was saying that the fish move up in waves, they do move up in waves. Bass don't spawn uniformly. Some will come up before others, but generally it's the bigger ones that move up first.
Mm-hmm.
It's generally the bigger bass that move up first. That's why you need to be out there right now, because they'll get increasingly smaller as
it
time
goes
is going on. You'll get those buck bass that come up later on, the smaller males. But if you get on the front side of the pre-spawn, the biggest females generally are the ones that move up first.
Okay.
Your
Interesting.
percentage is much higher to find bigger fish now. He's not saying that in May you won't find a big largemouth on the bed.
But
you're more
general,
likely you're going to catch a big largemouth in the next 4 weeks compared to pre-spawn, not on the bed, but pre-spawn. In the next 4 weeks, you're going to catch a big largemouth better than you would in like May.
Okay. Pull up George Smith's question right there. Interesting question. Question I thought of today fishing Oconee and it being a largemouth lake. Do largemouth school bait fish like we see spots doing? My answer to that is yes.
Yes.
And I'm going to base that upon 2 electric only reservoirs that we got around here, Latham and Hickory Log. Now, Hickory Log is about 99% largemouth. It's got a few spots in it. But if you go out there on any given day, especially during the summer, you're going to see them breaking top water and all that. Those are largemouth. On Latham over here that has spots and largemouth, some of these I call them the new wave largemouth that have, now that bluebacks have been introduced into that, you will start seeing in those schools, if you throw in there, your catch ratio is going to be about 50-50 largemouth to spots. What is that term? Pelagic? Is that the right pelagic? I'll murder any term out there. So at least on these electric reservoirs, my answer is yes. Now I'm going to let you guys talk about like on a bigger lake on Allatoona. Do you see those largemouth out there?
We don't put weights in fish.
We do not put weights in fish, and we very much discourage that.
Paul Salmon Jr.
Yeah, we don't do that. So you fish Allatoona a good bit.
Yep.
So do you see largemouth schooling on Allatoona much?
Actually, I see the largemouth school with its spots on Allatoona a lot of times. Generally, it's mostly spotted bass, But the largemouths will school bait with spots. Now, the thing that I've discovered on Alatuna specifically is that the bass will spend more time staging, or they'll hang out around a good piece of ambush cover, like a bridge piling or a small little outcropping of rocks that are different from the rest of the riprap on the bank or something like that. And that's normally where I pick off some largemouth. But the spotted bass will chase bait all over the lake. They don't really care. Wherever the bait is, that's where they're.
That's right. And actually, that brings back to the TikTok comment we had. I put one out with Franco from Cast, and he was talking about throwing the OG over 90 foot of water. And nobody in the comments seemed to believe that can happen. On Lanier, it does happen because those spots are out chasing the bait. And if the bait goes over a 90-foot bottom, they're going with it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter. They're going to go with it. What about you in your experience on Lanier or even other lakes as far as largemouth and spots schooling together?
Well, I mean, they do. And as the population of the largemouth has gotten better on Lanier, you're going to see it mixed in more and more and more and more. If you really want to see what largemouth will do, pre-spawn schooled up on bait wise, just Google Lake Murray schooling fish or something on YouTube.
Okay.
Because that lake is predominantly largemouth.
And they're schooling like crazy and all that.
Like spotted bass. But
yeah,
the other thing about it is Murray's just like these other lakes here in North Georgia. Bluebacks are the main diet. Their main source of food.
And I think the diet has a lot to do with whether largemouth are schooling. Mm-hmm. If you're on your typical farm pond and stuff like that, of course, there's not going to be no schooling there. They're going to be on the brim beds and stuff like that. And so diet, I think, plays a key. But that's a good question, George. We've had that conversation up at the shop a lot. Facebook user, they're doing it right now. So, it makes sense to me like that. So let's transition into this. Pre-spawn fish are moving up into what you would say, what water column from the bank to about what? Where are you going to be targeting them? And Ryan, you get that first question.
The bank to less than 10 feet.
So you're shallow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bank less than 10 feet. You know, if you're talking largemouth, even less than 5 feet.
Okay.
You know, 0 to 10 is pretty. 0 to 10 is a lot better consistent depth, really, with finding them from one end of the lake to the other. Generally, it kind of seems to deal a little bit better with water clarity.
Okay, I got you.
The more dirtier the water, the shallower they get.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll be in the mud, and I mean in the dirt. You know, their fins will be out of the water sometimes.
Right. What is that lake right there? Best top water largemouth I've seen in North Georgia is Lake. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Laiciola. Never heard of it.
I've never heard of that.
So anyway, what about you, pre-spawn depth wise? What does that mean to you? Same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say basically the same thing. Only I would put some emphasis on water clarity and the average depth of the lake, because if I'm on a herring lake where it's deep and clear and rocky, I'll give them maybe to the first 15 if it's like a cold front comes through and push them off a little bit to the first break line. But generally speaking, especially with largemouth, you want to be less than 10 feet of water. The past couple of weeks, I've been catching pretty much all largemouth in 6 foot or less. They've been shallow. And when it gets muddy, like he was saying, they will get smack on the bank and they will get real tight to cover.
Yes.
Like on any blowdowns or any docks or things like that you can find, they will be dirt shallow, like smack on the bank and barely 2 feet of water.
I like how that guy Clark's Hill is the best, and I'll fight over that as far as that. I saw that one comment, Spencer Sheffield posting big bags of spots on Lanier. What about that?
Who hasn't been?
Yeah, really, honestly, lately.
I mean,
guys that are on it are on it.
I'm not being no disrespect, but I mean, whoop-de-doo. I see everyone's been doing it this winter. He ain't doing anything. He ain't doing nothing else more special than anybody else has been doing. That's been catching the big bags of spots.
Yeah, so we've seen in some past tournaments 23, 24, right at 24 pounds be brought in. Yeah. 20 pounds in some of these bigger tournaments, you got to have that to win.
That's crazy.
So
all spots.
A lot of them are all spots. You'll get one that has a kicker largemouth, but it's very easy on Lanier. There was actually Emil Wagner had a guy yesterday or the day before out with him that caught, what was it, 6.7? Was that spot? 6.7 spot. So that is a toad spot like that. So, So will the spawn start at the north end and move towards the lower end
Before
first?
we do that, we need to pitch the StreamYard.
Oh, pitch to StreamYard.
Yeah, type
Okay.
that in the comment section there for all you Facebook users who've been texting me asking me, why can't you see my name?
All right. So it's www.streamyard.com/Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, go to that. It will allow you to type your name in. So on our thing, you will no longer be Facebook user, and then we can see your face like that. So, but anyway, while Paul's doing that, that question was talking about the north end to the south end on these lakes. So, Ryan, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, it generally starts north spawning wise. It generally starts on the northern end of a lake and works its way down. There are instances, however, where it will happen from one end of the lake to the other all at once. It looks like the way things are kind of going right now, at the rate things are going right now. This first wave that happens, there's going to be a wave that hits from one end of your lake all the way to the end of the lake.
Wow.
And then we're going to have some different stuff that come back in later on down the road as we progress on to the spring.
Yeah.
Really look for that. This is cheek and tongue, but really, really, really pay attention to that first full moon in March.
Okay.
That first full moon in March is going to dictate a lot of things. It's going to dictate a lot of whether or not how many largemouth actually go do the deed.
Okay.
It's really dependent upon water temperature and the full moon. That's going to really dictate how many actually go do the deed.
I love that comment right there. I had 20 pounds of all spots and came in 7th.
That's
a few Saturdays
insane.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another comment from Joy Parker right there. That fish weighed 6.75 on 2 scales and 7.4 on a third. So give or take, still regardless, a
Now,
spot of a lifetime.
I heard
Uh-huh.
that it went 7+ on the certified scale at Hammond's.
That is
Okay.
you can take-
There you go.
You can
Honestly,
take that for
all
what you
day.
will.
But the SLX DC
That
is a
is
good reel, too.
absolutely a toad spotted bass. But Lake Lanier, of all the lakes around here, is capable of producing that.
Yeah.
Consistent. Carter's might be another one.
I've heard it's between Carter's, Lanier, and Latham is what I've heard.
Latham can. I've heard of 1.6+ coming out of Latham. That was
I've
a
never
spot.
really caught a lot of super tankers coming out of Latham.
Oh, there's been some monsters caught out.
I
of
know
it.
there
Yeah, they're
are,
not that
but
class.
No, I have not caught them, but
Someone
I have
else.
seen them.
I mean, Lanier has big spots, but nah, they ain't one that holds a candle. The one that's swimming around at Burton.
Burton, yeah, okay, Burton got it.
Burton's got 10-pounders swimming around there somewhere.
You think so?
Hell yeah! I think I know.
Yeah. What was you gonna say?
Dude, they
What?
run around eating trout. That's all they eat.
Lanier's
Yeah.
average fish has just gotten to be silly, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to come across a 4-pounder Lanier.
Joy, real quick, if you could in the comment section, you said you got pics, not so much pics, but the measurements. I'm really curious what the measurements on that fish would be. And again, to all the rest of you, hello, glad you were joining us tonight. Lanier, yeah, 20+ if you want to be competitive during
Yeah.
certain times of the year. And I'm serious. Yeah, every once in a while you'll get a guy that's got the kicker largemouth and all that. And and sometimes you'll get bags of more largemouth and spots, especially kind of in the next month or so like that. But that is not uncommon
You
for
guys
20+.
on TikTok, let us know where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. What was you getting ready to say?
Oh, I was just gonna say that I heard that I think it was Latham or one of these other reservoirs. I heard that some guy had been using live trout on the bottom. He caught a teener largemouth somewhere in the range of like 14 or something like that.
Okay, that wouldn't be. I hadn't heard of one from Latham coming out, but it wouldn't shock me. They're out there, absolutely. So, Ron Swinford, no fish in Latham, says Scotty. That's right. There's no fish in Latham Reservoir. If you're thinking about going and fishing it, you might as well go to Hickory Log. Well, once Hickory Log gets open, but no, we're just kidding. So pull up Ron's comment right there if you don't mind. If the first wave of largemouth get knocked back by the weather, you will see some spawn anyway, but some of those big largemouth will back out and wait until much later, middle of April to May. And I guess again, that's you got to have some really serious fronts to do that. Some real good cold fronts like that. So if Harold Grizzle is fishing, what is it? Lanier, he is coming in with largemouth. Yeah, there's some guys on Lake Lanier and even Allatoona that they're going for those largemouth. I'm not sure what the combination was that won the Noe event there this past weekend. I'm sure it had some largemouth because I believe the winner went up the river. So I believe that might be the case. So let's do this. So we've determined so far length of days, temperature, water temp, like that. We've talked the depth of water from the bank to, you said 15, but most of the time we're going shallower than that. You'll give them 15. Let's start talking about how we're going to target these big females. And both of y'all might do some things that are similar, and I'm sure you got something different. So let's start off with your favorite. And Ryan, I'm going to give this to you first. What is your favorite way to target pre-spawn bass on our local reservoirs?
Spinnerbait.
Straight up spinnerbait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll throw it all day.
You want to elaborate a little bit for the people out there?
Yeah, sure. Pick up a half ounce, 3 different colors. Pick up a half ounce chartreuse and white, a half ounce solid white, or a half ounce like a shad colored one, that looks, purplish blue, silver, something like that. Either a tandem willow leaf that has a gold top or silver bottom, or one that has a silver top and a gold bottom. Put you a grub trailer on the back of it, something that has little kickers on it, not a Kitech. Don't mess with that crap. That's a bunch of waste of time. Put a 2-aught trailer hook on the back of it, free swinging. Don't steady that thing. Let it free swing, and find every piece of cover, whether it's a dock, a tree, a rock, whatever. Work it from the front half of a creek or a pocket all the way till the trolling motor scrubs dirt. And then turn around and go to the next one.
Okay.
And throw it all day long.
I know you do that. You commit to it.
Yeah.
You commit to it. All right, Jeremiah.
It works.
It does. It does. Hey, real quick, if I get to Jeremiah, can you pull up just above Ron Swimpert? Joey put those measurements for that spot right there. So 16.5-inch girth, 23 and 3/4 inches long.
I got 6 Saturday, Rocky.
That is crazy. It was all belly. So that is just an absolute monster spot. And I would be proud of that. Now, your favorite bait to target pre-spawn bass?
For numbers or for size?
Either or.
For numbers, I'm going with some variation of a crankbait, normally a lipless crank. Lipless crankbait is pretty hard to beat that thing in the pre-spawn because those fish are so active and so aggressive. They're in such shallow water. I like to throw that. And it didn't get cold enough this past winter, really, for all the grass to die off. So we still have some like submerged vegetation and stuff like that. And if you can throw a spinnerbait or a chatterbait, some kind of reaction bait, I just kind of prefer a lipless. If you throw that and you can rip it out of the grass and fish the edges of the grass and things like that, you'll catch a lot of fish. And I will throw a crankbait with a lip on like some points where I can find some hard bottom square bills up around places where there's blowdowns and things like that. Just get around some form of cover and fish a reaction bait.
Okay. All right. So Ryan, I'm gonna go with you back to your spinnerbait. What's the number one mistake people make when throwing a spinnerbait in the pre-spawn?
They fish it too high in the water column.
Okay. I've heard you say this in the shop to many people. Explain what you're talking about.
If you can see your spinnerbait, you're fishing it too shallow in the water column or too high in the water column.
What do you normally look when you tell a customer that comes in here? What are you telling them to look for?
I want to only barely with a good pair of polarized sunglasses, whether it's in clean water or dirty water. I want to barely see that blade in the water down there, wherever I've thrown it. I want to barely see the flash of that blade. If you throw it much higher than that, you might catch a few fish. You won't catch a groaning.
Because you're too high.
Right.
Okay.
These fish, even when they're shallow, these fish are hanging closer to the bottom, even if they're in cover. They like if you got a log that sticks out in the water like this right here, and this is the bank that's underneath it. Zoom out. If you got a log that's going into the water just like this, okay, that fish ain't sitting right here. That fish is underneath it. He's sitting right here closer to the bottom. So if you buzz a spinnerbait over top of him, he's not going to come get it. But if you buzz a spinnerbait right by him, he ain't got to move that far to grab it.
Okay. There was a question. Why a trailer hook?
Why a trailer hook? Because you will lose the fish of a lifetime if you don't have a trailer hook on the back.
Just for added security.
A lot of times they'll just slap at it.
and that trailer hook could be.
You know, they'll just barely get the back or they'll grab the trailer and not the whole spinnerbait. So you know, you put that.
It's a matter if you tournament fish, and you throw a spinnerbait up and around here, if you ain't got a trailer hook on back, you're doing yourself injustice.
Okay.
You're gonna miss fish, guarantee it.
Now I'm gonna throw this out at both of you. When I did my podcast with O'Neal Williams, he talked about putting on a trailer hook.
Mm-hmm.
However, here's the kicker, and you guys can chime in on the comments with this as well. He recommended turning the trailer hook upside down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he said your catch ratio will go up by turning your trailer hook upside down. What's your opinion on that?
If you try it, works it. The trailer hook thing, you're going to get a lot of you're going to get a lot of arguments. People say, I never throw one, you're wasting your time throwing one. I mean,
it can't hurt.
The biggest fish the 11 pounder that I caught, I'll just go ahead and tell you guys, if I didn't have a trailer hook, I wouldn't have got the fish in the boat. Mm-hmm. So
just some added security.
Well, I mean, facts are facts for me.
Right. So just something you've experienced.
I would never be able to say I caught an 11-pound bass.
Okay. Well, I get it. What do you
That thing had the trailer. That's all it had.
Yeah. But what do you think about O'Neal saying turn it upside down?
Whatever.
It is what it is.
I mean, if it makes you happy. I ain't gonna run around here throwing one upside down.
Yeah, that's just me. So I saw a comment about our show on Waypoint. It's in editing right now. We've got 10 or 11 episodes that are in editing that we've for season 1. So I really don't know the timeline other than I've been told late spring, early summer. So that's what we're looking for, but I appreciate it. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Real quick, before we you check TikTok for some questions while I do this. I want to pull up another one of our sponsors, Buford Dam Bait and Tackle. Guys, Dave and Alan and the guys do a great job. You hear me talk about it every single week. They're kind of like us. They're going to give you what you need to catch fish and not really what they want to sell you. They're going to set you up from Lanier to Buford Dam if you're fishing. Oh, yeah, we got to do that giveaway. Yeah, go get that. Yeah, I almost forgot about it. And actually get the other prize for the weight thing. But, guys, right there, Buford Dam Bait and Tackle, 2595 Buford Dam Road, Cumming, Georgia, 706-429-7211. Again, one of the big things is support your local shops like that. And Buford Dam is an absolute great little shop located on Buford Dam Road. They got everything you need. If you're a striper guy, bass guy, crappie guy, trout guy, they've got it. So go tell Dave and the guys at Fish North Georgia told them to go there. Let them know that you heard about it here and spend some money there. You won't be disappointed. What do you think? While he's going to get, we've got a couple of giveaways that we've got to do. What do you think about the upside down trailer hook? Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, that's actually kind of an old school thing that people do.
And O'Neal's a little bit of an older guy.
Mm-hmm. But the thing with the upside down trailer hook on the spinnerbait, it comes with some pros and cons. The good part is if you're fishing for schooling fish, your hookup ratio goes way, way up. So if I see spots busting and they're chewing on herring or something like that, I'll take a heavy spinnerbait and I'll chuck it as far as I can and I'll wake it to where the blades are kind of throwing like a little bit of a wake on top. And I might put a trailer hook upside down on that. But as far as like fishing it around cover and things like that, you're going to get hung up a lot more. It's a pain on the butt to fish. And the other downside to that is you'll gut hook a lot of fish doing that. If you put the trailer hook upside down, you're going to get them in the throat and stuff like that, especially if they choke the whole thing, because sometimes these fish will get everything but the blades, and they'll just get the whole thing. And so they've got them hooked in the top and the bottom. They're bleeding and stuff like that. It's pretty bad. So,
so you recommend, though, if you're going to use one, turn it up. Okay, that makes sense. There was another question there about soft plastics on spinnerbaits, and I know that Ryan does, and I'll let him elaborate on that when he gets back. But you, as far as trailers, soft plastics, what do you use on your spinnerbaits?
Generally, for a spinnerbait, I don't put anything on it. I take them.
Okay, so you're bare.
I might trim the skirt a little bit, but if I'm after a real big fish, a really big fish during the pre-spawn, I'll take a heavy spinnerbait, like a 1/2 ounce or a 3/4 ounce, and I'll put a bulky trailer on the back and I'll slow roll it.
Okay.
On the bottom. That's how you get a real big fish in the pre-spawn. Well, that's one big fish technique for you, is to take a big old spinnerbait with some don't use willow leaf blades either. Use Indiana blades or Colorado blades, because it slows that spinnerbait down. You can keep it in the strike zone for a longer time, especially with that big trailer. The big trailer is going to want to make it lift up with those big blades and stuff. So you have to have the right reel, the right gear ratio reel, like a 5 or a 6, and just slow roll it across the bottom, up and over cover, and make contact with things down there, and you'll find you some big fish.
What's an example of a trailer you like?
An example of a trailer that I would like on a
It's like
spinnerbait.
that beefy, bigger trailer. Just
A big one, I like the Yamamoto Seiko. It doesn't have a whole bunch of action. It still keeps it pretty natural.
Mhm.
And I find that to be something that works on the bigger fish a lot of the times. A lot of the big fish baits don't have wild and crazy action all the time. They're a little bit more subtle and they're slower. As far as getting numbers, for numbers, you want the wild, crazy stuff that's loud and aggressive and rattling and stuff like that. Those big fish have been fooled a bunch of times in their lives, or they're just too smart to get fooled at all. So I want it to be a lot more natural. So a big
Okay.
trailer like that, or a I wouldn't use a Kitech because the Kitech just gives it too much action.
Right.
So some creature baits work well as a spinnerbait trailer too, like a sweet beaver. If you
Okay.
take a sweet beaver, it's flat, and you can cut that little tail down the middle, and it's flat. Doesn't have a whole bunch of action or anything, but it has bulk, and so that works. If you turn it right side up, where it's if you turn it right side up, it's got sort of a bluegill profile, that tall wide
Ooh.
profile.
That's good. Yeah, there you go. I like
That
that. What about you, Ryan? As far as soft plastics on, and I know you're very specific on.
Yeah, I
it.
only throw one.
He only throws one, so I know he was
Year
very.
round.
Yeah, everything. What is it?
It's a Bass Pro Shops Cajun trailer.
Mm-hmm. And why do you like it?
Blue Glimmer.
Why do you like it?
Man, I've caught more 17, 18 pound bags on it than anything else.
So just a confidence thing.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to spinnerbait fishing, you know, for me, I mean, it ain't broke, don't fix it for me.
Okay. All right.
I win more money on spinnerbait less 5 feet of water than anything else this spring.
Okay. All right. So,
Unless I'm fishing against Harold Grizzle. If I fish against Harold Grizzle, I'll have 1889 with a 6 pound kicker, and Harold Grizzle will have 1904 with a 604 kicker.
that's just the way it rolls.
Facts.
It
That's
is.
just the way it is.
That is absolutely the way it rolls. We're gonna announce the winner. Last week we had several big tournaments going on. You had the Elite Series down on Okeechobee. You had the Noe 2-day outdoor tournament going on Lake Allatoona. You had the BFL going on Lake Lanier. And on the BFL, you had the angler and the co-angler side. So what we asked our followers on the Fish North Georgia group page was to guess the winning weights
Lanier
of all
baits.
4 tournaments. Yep. And the winner was going to get this Lanier bait Magic Swimmer.
Hod swimmer.
Hod swimmer right there. So one cool thing about this bait, they do include a tail feathered treble hook, which we recommend you do anytime you buy a Seville anyway. Go ahead and change that out to a feathered just to give it a little more action. But we told everybody to guess the weights, and the closest one to the cumulative of all of them was going to win. And we had a lot of great ones. A lot of you guys were really, really close, but seems like everybody was over. Of all the entries we had, only one guy came in under, and unfortunately, he was 2 pounds off, and the winner was just a half a pound. All right, 1/2 of a pound. His weight was off for 4 tournaments, and so the winner, and I hope I pronounced your last name right, was Mark Strohauer, Strohauer, Strohauer. That sounds right. So, the cumulative total of all 4 tournaments was 150.78 pounds. He guessed 151.38. So he was off by just a little over 0.5, something like that. So, Mark, you will be getting the Lanier Baits Hod Swimmer, as Big Earl likes to say. It's a great bait. You guys go check Lanier Baits out at lanierbait.com, or you can come up here to the shop and really a lot of your local tackle stores, including Hammond's, Oakwood. They've got Lanier Baits. Am I missing any of the other local ones around here? That's pretty much. But you can get it. OBT. Dugout has them like that. So, and again, you can also go to lanierbaits.com and check out their entire lineup. Now, what do we want to do with the other giveaway we've got? So I want to go ahead and take care of that while we're right here.
The giveaway is the February giveaway for For Her, our title sponsor.
Pull it out there. So everybody looking at a white bag.
From Miss Jennifer and Miss Peyton.
Oh, it's white. We don't want to get that dirty.
We have a nice white T-shirt here that says "Real Girls Fish."
Okay.
Right here on the sleeve too, it says For Her. And then what else is in here?
You didn't check the bag?
We got a sticker and this a matching blue hat here, everyone.
Hey, right there. Listen, hey,
Very stylish.
very stylish.
Very stylish,
Again,
you guys.
go to For Her
Very
Outdoors
stylish.
apparel.com.
And a keychain.
Yeah, and a keychain like that. So, how do we want to give this thing away tonight?
Well, the only person that can win this is a lady.
Okay, so you guys, listen. If you're watching and you have a wife that's near you, she's in the comment section. We're going to ask you a question, and they need to answer. And the way I'm going to know it's them, they need to type their name or something like that. We're not giving this away to a guy.
Drop
So,
shot tips.
Drop shot tips we'll give you here in a second.
We'll get to them.
We got
So
plenty
stay
of those.
tuned, TikTok.
Yeah, hold on just a second right there. So, what did he put? You got
We got a rod and reel too.
And the rod and reel.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Oh, rod and reel combo.
by the way, a rod.
Oh,
and reel.
by the way,
I forgot.
No, Tyler Minix, you cannot identify as a woman. We know you. You are too ugly to identify as a woman. So we're not. No, I'm just kidding, buddy. I like you. Got a question for him? Or you want me to throw one off? Because we forgot to get a question.
Well, we can do it in. You can do it now.
Let's do it now.
Yeah, drop shot.
Let's do it now. I'll tell you what.
Drop shot is right up my alley.
Let's do this.
What
was the winning weight? The winning total weight for the Bassmaster Elites on Okeechobee this past weekend.
There you go.
What is the winning
What
weight?
was the
Now,
winning
again,
weight?
guys, we know you in the comments, a lot of you. So
And it's got to be pounds and ounces. It
Gotta be-
can't be none of this.
yes, don't give us none of that stuff. It's got to
Yeah.
be exact too. First one in the comment section, that is a female. Again, a female. So we're going to be watching. And I guess TikTok people, if they're females, they can win it too.
We're going to talk glides here a second, too.
I say, oh, hell, my wife won't have no clue. You know,
Well, you can help her.
my name is, yeah. So you guys kind of help do this. Got to get these females watching. If you guys would watch this with your wives, you know, hey, look, number one is something that you can do together as a couple and get them more interested in fishing like that. So we're going to wait for the answer right there. So the winning weight from the Bassmaster Elites. Okay. So you guys, we're going to keep going, but we will check out the comment sections right there. She's watching Real Housewives. Why is your wife watching such a bad show when she could be watching such quality entertainment as the Livewell here at Fish North Georgia?
Fair question.
I got great guests. We're talking good stuff. They really need to know this kind of stuff. Paul, you keep an eye out for the winning Katie Tatum, 40.25. No, that's not it. I'd love to give Katie something right there, but no, that's not it. Bassmaster Elites, the 4-day total for the winner. 4-day total for the winner. I will tell you right that I need more controversy. I can tell you right now, I'll give you a hint. It's over 80. It's over 80 pounds. So just start from there and you guys can work it on like that. Get your women to come in here and answer this so we can give them a rod and a reel, a cool hat and shirt, and some other stuff. Huh?
Michael Temples.
Well, my wife makes me put the headphones on. Listen, guys, you guys got to get in with the game right there. Now, we really did the Real Fishermen of Middle Lanier. Hey, it might be a show one day. It might be on Waypoint. So I can't believe none of you guys even know the answer. Y'all can't go get somebody to come in here and watch this thing and write it down and give us an answer. So listen, hey, if you guys don't answer it, we're going to take it to Lake Lanier tomorrow and find the first woman that we find fishing and we're going to give it to her. So you might as well answer and get it for yourselves right there. So winning weight, 4-day total, Bassmaster Elites on Lake Okeechobee. So anyway, we're going to keep going until you want to keep watching for the answer. I'm going to let him talk the drop shot to the TikTok crowd real quick. You'll keep watching for that.
Talk to the TikTok.
We're going to do that. So TikTok, we're glad you are joining us tonight.
Just some generic springtime drop shot tips, Jeremiah.
Okay, so
Okay.
Help somebody catch more fish on drop shot.
in the springtime.
Okay. And I mean, it doesn't really matter when you throw a drop shot rig. That thing smokes them all year. I mean, if you can't catch a bass on anything else in the world, it's going to be on a drop shot rig.
Okay.
Unless the water's like incredibly dirty. If it's like super, super dirty, they're not going to be able to see it that good. So generally, you want at least, say, 3 feet of visibility when you throw a drop shot rig, okay? So generally, the cleaner the water is, the lighter the line you want to use. Using braid to a fluorocarbon leader is going to help you out with getting more bites and for increasing your sensitivity. A lot of people lose a fish on a drop shot.
We got a winner. We got a winner right there. Hold on real quick. I'm sorry, TikTok. We got a winner right there. So Melinda Chadwick.
No, Ginger Smith.
Ginger Smith. Oh, I saw two. So Ginger Smith. Okay, Ginger Smith right there.
Ginger Smith beat Melinda Chadwick by about 2 seconds.
Okay, there you go. So that's the first one I saw. But yeah, all right. So I said it wrong. So Ginger Smith, you've got the rod and reel. We'll get with you. You can message me, Danny Pruitt, or get in touch with us somehow, and we'll figure out a way to get you your rod. Congratulations. Thank you for participating in that. Hey, help us get some more females watching this show. We know you guys love to fish. So, but thank you very much. And
that's the species you don't count. He's
Yeah.
up here throwing on TikTok. He's like 86-15.
Yeah,
that's
Justin,
the species you don't count.
You don't count, right?
We did have a few come in
That's
on
awesome.
TikTok just now. We just had a Megan Tolley come through, and that's it.
So you guys got to start watching this on YouTube on Thursday nights, right there. So let's continue with the real quick on springtime pre-spawn drop shot fishing.
The key thing to a drop shot that I found out after years of trial and error and stuff like that, really figuring it out, is that a balanced setup is the most important part of drop shot fishing. The rod, the reel, the line, everything together is a unit. They all have to work together. If you have the wrong rod and the right everything else, is not going to be successful. If you have everything put together perfectly fine, but one thing is off, you're going to get less bites than the next person who's doing it right with a drop shot.
Yep.
So you have to have everything set up the right way, even down to the wire gauge on the hook that you're using. If you're using a medium light spinning rod for your drop shot rig, you're going to want to go to a light wire hook, or I like the Owner Mosquito lights. If you're going with a little bit heavier one, a little bit bigger drop shot rig, and you're having a little bit heavier weight on the end of it, it's okay to use a medium wire, or even Texas rig the worm on there with the robo worm hooks that have the little keeper on there, because you have more power behind it. You can really stick those fish really good. So
what about a particular color for this time of year?
My favorite color of all time is something pink. We're gonna go with mostly Morning Dawn. Morning Dawn is the juice.
I'm gonna give you an alternative color that I have found that I like that has worked. Zoom makes a trick worm called Ghost Herring.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Ghost Herring, and it is a phenomenal looking worm. But actually, if you take that and you bite a little bit of it off, short it up, it makes an absolutely outstanding bait on a drop shot. Very lifelike colors and stuff like that. Do you think color plays more of a role this time of year, or is it just pretty much they're so aggressive they're gonna hit whatever?
They're generally so aggressive that they'll hit almost anything you put in front of them. It kind of depends on water clarity, what color I would use in the springtime. The colors matter more later on in the year, like during the summer and things like that. That's what I found.
And I think Ryan will echo this. Go shallow with it. Don't be afraid if you're going to, cast it and keep it off the bottom just a little bit and bring it down those banks. Stay out of the brush in the pre-spawn, don't you think? They're not going to be relating the brush near as much. They're going to be moved up.
Yeah, I mean, you can take a drop shot.
I know we don't throw drop shot a lot this time of year, but
you can take a drop shot. You can pretty much throw it around anywhere you want to throw it this time of year.
Prism shad's good. Yeah.
Oh, and another thing. You don't have to fish a drop shot painfully slow. I know that's what people are doing during the wintertime and stuff like that, but now that you can speed up, you don't have to fish a drop shot super, super slow. And you can use different types of plastics on it. You don't always have to use a finesse worm on a drop shot rig. You can drop shot with a swim bait. You cast it out and reel it back across the bottom. That works. You can take a paddle tail worm and cut it down a little bit and swim that back. That works well. So don't think that you have to just painfully slow drag a little 4-inch worm and shake it in place. And you can also upsize during the springtime too. That's probably a good idea, is to rig the bubble shot. Yeah.
I like Tyler's comment. Best drop shot tip I have is not fish it. God's children are power fishermen. Be a child of God. Well, I think you would do that. Now we got a comment down there too. I did have a gentleman come into the store, and it's much bigger up north than it is down south. But a lot of guys will drop shot with a tube. They'll just nose hook it like that. Perfect profile of a bait fish. If you think about it like that. So that's it. So there's a little bit TikTok on the drop shot. We're going to get back to what these guys like to do best, and I think that's more of the power side of things. Ryan is a spinnerbait guy. Jeremiah, lipless crankbait. Ryan, what's your number 2 if they're not hitting the spinnerbait? What are you going with?
That down there.
You want to just that down there? That's not a very good answer. What is that down there?
A trick worm.
Trick worm.
A floating worm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah, pass him that down.
Yeah, will you do that so he'll quit looking down at his hands and actually?
No, the whole package is one of them.
You just give me one of them. That's fine.
Give him the whole damn thing.
Give me
These
one.
are all things that I picked out straight off the rack here. Straight off the rack here at Fish North, Georgia. You can get all this stuff.
Right there. What was that question by Michael Temples, real quick? Could you pull that up, Paul?
Methylate trickworm.
Methylate trickworm. And you were going to
Methylate.
show what you're doing. What wet of late do you like using, Michael? I guess are you talking about on the drop shot? So weight wise,
3/8 ounce for me.
3/8 ounce. And if you have to throw a
Well-
drop shot, which I know is probably more often than never than you do, I throw a 3/8.
I mean, nah. I mean, this time of year. I mean, if you went out and you told me I had to go throw a drop shot this time of year to go catch a fish, I'd pretty much only throw a 1/4 ounce one,
Okay.
or maybe even a
Technically-
3/16.
So
Well,
you go lighter.
I mean, do you like to go lighter this time of year?
Technically,
Or you just gonna keep
though, technically speaking, you're supposed to go with the lightest line and weight and that you can get away with for drop shot fishing.
Right.
Especially the guys in Japan, they'll drop down to 4-pound test line and 16th ounce weights and little bitty stuff. But I prefer 3/8 ounce because I'm bank fishing and I need to be able to reach long targets.
That's true.
So I've got
That's
a
true.
I've got a drop shot XL. I don't have the regular drop shot rods, and I use thinner diameter braidts and 3/8 ounce
casting.
line because I got
You
to
got to
reach.
cast it out there. Yeah, that's right. So, and I will, let me ask you this. Harmon with Lanier Baits talks about when he is casting a drop shot, he likes to increase his leader.
Mhm.
And the reason being is that weight. So if you got the bank, that worm is staying at a more stable distance by just increasing. It's keeping it off
Mhm.
when he's casting, as opposed to
I'm
when
getting
he's
there.
dropping.
We're gonna get there. People are all
The glide baits.
TikTok just blew up. I felt that worm in front of them. They're like, how are you fishing it? Or what are you doing with it?
Okay, all right.
Yep.
So
So
we're gonna take a second. If the camera will get on
I'm gonna
Ryan,
finish what we did.
yeah, let's do that. No, go ahead, go ahead. I want to keep the tick. We're gonna let the TikTok guys in tonight. And
having
then
a good conversation. Let's go wait. This is
Hook
gonna
it
be in
up.
depth.
in depth it. Hook it up. Let's go.
All right, so all right, a lot of guys that throw a floating worm. Some guys who do. It's a thing that I've passed. Not many people do it anymore. You say floating worm, and they look at you like you're crazy. This thing will shred their ass
Mhm.
for like numbers to a certain extent, but when females start to glue to the bed, especially in some stained water, this will get their ass.
I was about to say a whole month of March into April.
This right here will get them. It will get them off the bed. I got started on spinning rod. I don't. I ain't playing around with that sissy stuff. Spinning rod's got my wacky
my
worms.
God.
And it's got my. Now listen, there's a reason why. Started throwing it years ago. Started throwing it on a spinning rod. Actually wouldn't even throw a shaky head. Back then when I only had like 1 or 2 spinning rods. Now I've got more freaking spinning rods than I need. Anyway, we'll save that for another day. So I was throwing on spinning rod, and I was throwing like on 12-pound test, and I couldn't control the bait the way I wanted to control it.
Okay.
And I wasn't as accurate with a spinning rod, and I couldn't get really as tight to cover with a spinning rod. Nowadays I could, but I'm not going to go back to a spinning rod because I've been throwing it on a bait caster for so long now.
Right.
15-pound test, mono, a oversized swivel, one probably about that big, a big one, and black one.
A black
A
swivel.
black swivel, not a gold swivel. Buy the black swivels.
Okay.
I rig it up straight to the end of the line, rig it up, tie it on, come up there, take a piece of leader, take a leader probably about, I don't know,
18.
12 to 16 inches,
Okay.
give or take, somewhere around in there. Tie that leader on. Take a 5/0 right here. This is what we got. A 5/0 straight shank or straight shank. Look at me. Offset shank worm hook.
Show the TikTok people that too.
Offset shank 5/0 worm hook.
Okay.
Right here. I don't use the EWG. Lose too many fish on the EWG.
Mhm.
This I want straight pin point. When they get it, I set the hook. The hook is coming straight to the top of their mouth. I don't want this wide action stuff going on. A lot of people just come in here and they nose hook it. Wrong. Don't even do that. Wasting your time. Come right in here. Do not nose hook this bait like you would a Texas rig. Do not nose hook this bait if you want a Texas rig. Come right in here just like this.
About an inch down.
About an inch down. Take that hook. Come right in here just like this. This one just so happens this is a softy worm. You guys on TikTok can see right there. That's a softy worm. It's got the softy label right there.
You can get them at fishnorthgeorgia.com.
You can get them at Fish North Georgia. I'm coming in right here. You guys out here locally know what the softy worms right here. I come in right here, right above the softy. I embed the point of the hook into here.
Show them on that too. Make sure that
embed it right here, just like this. All right, embed it just like so. We'll come right in here. Damn, we got too many cameras to show off. All right, come straight in all the way to about the back of it here, and that's the good thing about this one. You can kind of see it where I've got it going on right here. Take it, bend it through just like this, like you would Texas rig. Bend that sucker just like this and turn it all the way up. Put it out like this.
Make sure you get that close to that TikTok camera too so they can see what you
Put it out, look, just like this. Okay.
So the line, the eyelet is in the worm.
It's sticking out from my hole right there where my line tie is going to be.
Right.
All right, that's the way I throw it right there. All right, then you come in here, and then this is the most important factor of it all. You can come in here and you can say, well, all right, let's just embed it. No. Paul, I don't know if you need to change the camera angle or not for this or what, but you're going to take this thing and you're going to twist this worm like so.
Oh, that's yeah.
You're going to twist this worm like this. You're going to twist. It normally be laying just like this. You're going to twist the worm.
Okay.
When you twist the worm, whichever way you're going to go with it, and then you kind of go in at the side right here.
So you're not putting the hook back in the bottom.
Not in the middle. I'm coming in kind of from the side, and now I barely put the point of it out. And this is your end result. This is the way it looks.
So okay. little awesome.
Versus a standard Texas rig.
Yeah, here's your standard Texas rig, so you can show them for the.
So Jeremiah rigged us up a standard Texas rig. Here's a standard Texas rig. This is how some guys throw it. All right, this you'll get bit doing this. But personally, if you want to be able to get out of the norm and give it completely different action, throw it this way. But if you want to get it out of the norm and impart different action on it, you throw it like this.
Okay.
This, when you twitch it with that swivel on the front of it, that worm basically comes through here when it's back there. And instead of it going kind of side to side with its Texas rig, this worm actually goes just like this.
Down and up. It kind of waves more like a. Okay.
When you twitch it and you pull it like this, like you would, if you're popping a popper, and you kind of do the same action with your wrist. This thing actually does this number. Okay. Everyone else is throwing one. It's going a little bit side to side action. This, it goes down and it goes down. I have actually seen fish with the swivel. The swivel helps me throw it on casting equipment. It adds a little extra weight to it. But I've also seen fish attack the swivel. They think that this is chasing something in the water, and they will bite that swivel. And sometimes when they bite that swivel, I've actually seen them let go of it and then just take this thing and open their mouth, and go, and suck it in.
And show them how much farther the hook. Hold them two up side by side and show them how much farther the hook.
Other thing too is the big thing about the other thing too about fishing it this way compared to Texas rig. You can see where the hook is right here. I'll show TikTok first. See how farther back the hook is? If they sniff half this thing, I get a hook in them. Mm-hmm. They have to eat this bait in order for me to get a hook in them.
Gotcha.
And that's just one thing that I've done. And one thing, there's some old school jacks that'll tell you that this is the way to throw one. You really want to believe me on this? Type in 1996 Bassmasters on Sam Rayburn Reservoir, Takahiro Omori 1. This is exactly how he rigged the damn thing.
Okay. And guys, listen.
He won the tournament.
If you're watching on TikTok, you always can go to YouTube.
Action Rod's a 7-foot medium heavy rod.
7-foot medium heavy rod. You can go to YouTube and watch this again once the show is over, and you can go back. The camera on this picked it up a little bit than what we've got with you guys. But that's kind of interesting. Now, Jeremiah, have you ever thrown one like that?
I've not done it like that, but I can take it even further than he took it.
Okay. How would you
Go for it.
The thing with the floating worm that a lot of people overlook also is the leader material. Some people just take whatever it is that they have and just put it on there. Now, if you take monofilament and it's a little bit thicker diameter, especially in muddier water, you can get that thing to ride up higher, and you can use fluorocarbon leader to get it to go lower. And the longer it is, you'll get a different action too. The distance between that swivel and that bait, you get a different action.
Okay.
So using a longer one, it's more loose, it's more fluid movement, and the closer it is, the little bit tighter it'll be, and it'll want to sink a little bit nose down from the weight of that swivel.
Gotcha.
So another thing you can do is take a little bitty nail weight, get you a little bitty nail weight, put it in the tail of that worm, and it will skip cast. And if you fish docks and things like that, if you put it nail weight in the tail end of that worm, you can make it shoot backwards, and it will actually glide up undercover, and you can work it back out.
Okay, that's a couple of great tips right there. Absolutely. So, yeah, that's interesting. I've never thrown one like this. I've always rigged it up your typical Texas, and that might be why I miss a fish or two. So, yeah, it's right there. You guys can see how that thing is just kind of off right there. So that's a good picture of it right there. So, excellent tip. And, of course, right now we've talked about
fish it weightless.
Fish it weightless. The only way he's got is the swivel. Right there.
That's
So
basically for casting.
There are
I cross their eyes.
Yeah, you got a jack.
you got to do
cross
that.
their eyes. You don't play around with them.
Now, this was methylate, but
Yep.
you said there's 3 colors.
3 main colors would be bubblegum,
Yes.
merthiolate,
Yes.
and black.
Yes.
Those are the 3 main ones you need to use. If you're
There
gonna do
you
that
go,
type.
right there. So there's you some good juice right there on that. All right, I'm gonna take.
And sometimes
Sometimes June bug.
June bug.
Called it.
And June bug. Yeah, so you guys are on the
Sometimes
same
June bug.
page. I like that. Let's take a second right here to thank a couple more of our sponsors. Red Bobber Gear right there. He's going to pull it up on the screen right there, guys. Again, we all know about the classic Red Bobber we all fished with when we was little. Well, they have taken it and they have put it on clothing, so you can go out there and be proud of your past fishing and all that, and just something that draws attention and stuff. Right there, Red Bobber Gear at www.redbobbergear.com. They've got a full selection from babies all the way up to adults. Some great sweatshirts. I love my Red Bobber sweatshirt. It's got the phone holder and all that. Go to redbobbergear.com. Check them out. Show them some love. They're a local company out of Canton, Georgia. We also want to thank Rachel Collins. Now, again, I still got to get her new information, but her phone number, I believe, will still be the same if we pull it up right there. And Paul is going to get to that. That's my fault, Paul. I threw that on you real quick. For all your real estate needs, right there, the phone number. Where do we go?
I'm going to go out to the wide.
You can go out to the wide right here because you got to get all of us smiling faces in there.
We'll tighten back up.
Okay, well, out there. Okay, 770-310-0599. If you're in the real estate market, again, and you want a good, trustworthy local agent that will go to bat for you, whether you're buying or selling, Rachel is your agent. Again, she likes to fish. She's one of us. She's going to do you a good job. She's one of the more honest people that we know. I know if I were buying or selling right now, she would be my agent, and I highly recommend you do the same. So it's a tough market out there. Let Rachel do all of your real estate needs, and so that way you can sleep easy at night. Again, 770-310-0599. Give her a call like that. Jeremiah, you've got a handful of products that you pulled off the shelf that you think right now are fantastic pre-spawn baits. So what I want you to do is I want you to hold one up.
Okay.
You take your pick. TikTok, somebody mentioned glide baits a little earlier. We do have a glide over here. You want to start off with the glide so we can take care of the TikTok guys? And feel free to pull it out of the package.
Okay.
If you've watched any of our past shows, you guys know Jeremiah loves big glide baits, big swim baits, stuff like that.
You want one already out?
Do you have one already?
Yeah, I got one over there that's already out of the package.
All right.
Okay, well, I'll let you go get that. Talk glide baits real quick while he goes and gets an
I
example.
forgot you got to put like split rings and everything on that thing.
Yeah. All right, my specialty, big swim baits. Okay, so the glide bait deal is something that you start to pick up when the water gets a little bit warmer. Now, there's a lot of people out fishing big swim baits right now that are using the soft baits, your Huddlestons and your other wedge tails. But as the water is getting warmer and pre-spawns starting to come around, you can start to fish a little bit faster. So now you're starting to introduce your multi-jointed baits like, say, bull shats and things like that, and your paddle tails. But also you get to start picking up, again, is the glide baits. In the wintertime, when it's a little bit too cold, the fish aren't willing to go as far or as fast to chase one down. So as we've gotten into pre-spawn and the water is warming up, the fish are more shallow, they're willing to travel now. That will come a little bit of a ways to come and get one, especially if it has a lot of drawing power. If it's got a big wide glide and it's a little bit bigger lure. So the way that you want to fish a glide bait this time of year is you don't want to go too fast, but you want to get a good consistent side-to-side action. And you want to throw in a few quick little darts here and there. Some people say that making it spin around and look at the fish, if you take some slack line. Thank you.
Trap.
Real quick, let me. You guys check out. They call me Collins. Rachel's number is the same. The team is the same at 400 Homes. Only the broker name has changed. So again, I apologize. I hadn't got all that. And I saw a comment. Somebody is watching live from Dallas, Texas, on Facebook. Hey, we'd love to have your name right there. If you'd let us know, we appreciate you watching from Dallas tonight. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Jeremiah. I got to get those comments in when I can.
So the deal with the glide bait is generally I like to have two sizes. I'll take a bait that's around 6 or 7 inches, and I'll take a 10-inch bait. One is for just getting a kicker fish. If you're fishing a tournament, you just want to get a little bit bigger size fish, go with something like that. This is a bait sanity antidote. I believe it's a 7-inch bait, about 2 ounces in weight. This is something that you can throw on your regular bait casting tackle, as long as you have say a good jig rod, something that's like a 7.6, 7.3 heavy, medium heavy, something like that. You can get away with it with this. Something like this larger one. This is a Bait Sanity Explorer Glide. This is a 10-inch bait, and it weighs in the range of 4 or 5 ounces, something like that. You'll need a dedicated swim bait rod to fish something like this on. Now, the difference between this and this, the action is similar, but the difference is this one will get a smoother, wider glide, being that it's bigger and it has more drawing power. They can see this from further away. Fish are willing to travel from a lot further off to grab this versus this. You're going to get less bites on this bigger bait, though, obviously. It's just too big for the majority of fish to eat, even if you get followers on it. The way that I like to fish it is I will throw it kind of in the same areas that I would throw a spinnerbait or something like that. And I want to keep it just barely out of sight. I want to be able to see it back.
Similar to what Ryan said with his spinnerbait.
Yeah,
just down enough that we can barely see it.
There's something out there that can help you with this, though, by the way. If you are not aware, a lot of swim bait makers, and especially the JDM ones, they make what's called a tracer. There's these stickers that you can buy in bright fluorescent colors, bright orange, bright green, bright yellow, chartreuse. You can put them on the back of your bait, and it'll help you see it from a distance or
good point.
Down.
Good point.
The bait still looks natural because the tracer's only on the back of it. This is just to help you see. So take some polarized glasses, get it down just barely out of sight, or throw it up next to some obvious cover, a dock, a blowdown.
What makes it a good pre-spawn bait?
The fact that they are willing to eat it.
Okay, there you go.
They're willing to come a long
so
way.
You guys heard that on
Big
TikTok.
meal.
It is a big meal. All right, now you don't throw glide baits that much.
Yeah.
Now, so let's go to the next bait. What's your next bait that you picked out from upstairs?
Crankbait.
Right there. Okay, so
Must have.
So you got the DT6. Looks like that's in Demon. Very
Demon
similar
Red.
color, Demon Red. Very popular springtime bait.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ryan, you got a little more experience throwing crankbaits this time of year. What are you looking for in a crankbait?
Either one or two colors. I'm either looking for something loud and like the citrus shad in the Rapala DT series, the ghost, the green gizzard shad, the herring colored one, the green herring color one. I can't remember what the name of it is from Rapala. The DT6, DT8, DT10, DT12. The biggest thing when crankbait fishing this time of year is maintaining bottom contact. If you don't maintain bottom contact real good, I almost would rather grind one. I would almost rather throw like one that dives 10 feet up into 5-6 feet of water before I'll get one that barely touches 10. Because I just feel like I can slow crank it a little bit better. I don't have to crank as hard, and it'll still bounce off them rocks and deflect real hard. I'm basically looking for a reaction strike.
Looks like we got a question on TikTok.
Let's see. When will the next female giveaway be?
Oh, okay. Well, hey,
I was going to get to her, and I was going to get to Megan in a second. I was going to tell her when we get a second. The biggest thing though with crankbaits is This time of year, you can find a place. You can find what I like to call the magic area with a crankbait, and you can make cast after cast after cast after cast after cast and catch fish.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you can throw this all day
Right.
and only catch a few fish, but those few fish that you catch are good ones.
Yeah.
They're quality fish.
So I see. I can kind of read that comment. I'll grind the DT. Was it 10?
Yeah, DT 10 and 4 feet of water.
4 feet of water all day.
I'll do the same thing. I'll do the exact same thing that he's talking about.
Yeah, and the rock crawler is good. And
the rock crawler is
That's a good one
good.
right there.
But the DTs, the other big thing too, and this is key in on something that Jeremiah, I don't know if he mentioned it or not yet, but it'll be something that goes in with the way he fishes from the bank a lot. I cannot stress this enough this time of year. Long cast.
Yep.
The reason why long cast, no matter what, when you're throwing these things, is I want to cover with that cast as much water as I can.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I want to cover as much water as I can, because the fish by the hour in the spring in the pre-spawn, the fish by the hour can sometimes move up a foot, move up 3 feet, move out 4 feet. It just depends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe it's one of those days where it starts out in the morning 58 degrees,
Right.
and a wind comes through that afternoon and it gets down into the low 50s. Well, then fish don't necessarily leave like a point, for example. They won't leave it completely, but they may shut off from being up there in 5-6 feet of water, and they may move back out here to 12, 13 feet of water. And then I just change crankbaits. I just put on a deeper diving crankbait. But then fish will, once the fish commit, that's the biggest thing I guess I can say. And if Jeremiah's got anything to say about this, you go right ahead too. The biggest thing is when the fish commit shallow to pre-spawn, they don't leave. When they commit, they're there. A lot of people think that a lot of people think they pull up, it gets cold, and they go right back out here to the middle of the freaking creek channel. No, they don't. They do not do it.
Okay.
They don't do it. They just, you have to change presentations. You have to change things. Jeremiah's got one more thing laying over there for when a cold front comes through that is absolutely freaking killer. And
he spotted that.
Let's answer this question real quick from Ginger Smith before we get to that. When maintaining bottom contact with your crankbait, how do you prevent getting constantly hung up?
You can reel slower, but the biggest key to doing it, especially like take a DT10 and you throw it up there in like 4 or 5 feet of water, and you start cranking it. As soon as you start cranking it down and it starts bam, and it feels like it's getting hung, wanting to hang up. All you got to do, normally when you fish a crankbait, you fold the rod down. If you're from a boat. I don't know how you always do it, but
I imagine it's going to be similar.
You do it maybe similar. Kind of sit to the side or down.
Raising the rod a little bit.
But raise your rod tip up and crank it like this. Just because you will actually pull the bait to actually, when it hits that shallower cover, you'll actually help that bait pull itself over the rock.
Up and over. That sound right to you?
Well, I got 2 things for that. If you're trying to keep from getting hung up on a crankbait, there's actually a couple things that you can do. Being that you're going to be fishing so shallow in the pre-spawn, everybody wants to fish a crankbait on fluorocarbon to help it get down more, but you can get away with using copolymer or monofilament sometimes, especially if you're using the right rod. If you're using a rod that's a little bit too soft, you might have a little bit too much give. But any crankbait rod that would double as a chatterbait type of stick, that would work good with monofilament line. It'll help you keep that thing up and it'll get over stuff a little bit better. Yeah. Also, you can get away with it if you're using a balsa wood crankbait versus one that's made out of some other material. The plastic ones they're more neutrally buoyant, but the balsa wood crankbaits are super buoyant. So when you stop them, they float up and out of cover by themselves.
These are balsa.
Yeah.
The DT6s are actually made out of balsa.
Yeah.
Right. So it kind of does that for you. And if you're able to feel, if you have a sensitive enough rod, you can kind of feel it when you're about to come up over some sticks or something like that. What will get you a lot of bites is actually making contact with that cover and then stopping and letting it float back up out there.
That's a perfect comment for right there for T. McGuire Outdoors. Most of my crank grinding strikes have come when it floats up after hanging or after hitting something like that. So, so absolutely. But I would also say, too, that if you're throwing a crankbait and you're not putting it in a place where you could possibly get hung or on cover like that, you're not fishing it in the right spots anyway.
You gotta risk it.
It's kind of like It's kind of like buying a Jeep and then fussing about the gas mileage. Okay, you don't buy a Jeep for gas mileage. You don't buy a crankbait if you're not willing to get it down there and dig into stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You think that would be fair to say?
Yeah, that'd be fair to say.
Okay, now what was the bait that Ryan said for when a cold front comes through?
A flat-sided crankbait.
Here we go.
Now,
all right.
I was going to expand on the crankbait deal. There's actually 4 that I'm throwing right now, or that I would throw right now. One is going to be a square bill crankbait. That's for fishing dirt shallow after a rain. It gets muddy, stuff like that. They get right on the bank. You're fishing around stuff that's retaining heat, like docks and blow down trees, things like that. Square bill is just easier to throw into that stuff. It bounces over stuff. It'll get up, over, around, and through stuff. Next one would be the lipless crankbait. That's a search bait that I'm using just to find them.
Mhm.
If I don't know where they're at, we'll go around and throw that similar places you would throw a spinnerbait. That's what you're going to find them with. Next one would be one of those crankbaits like that DT6
Like the
we just had.
DT6, yeah.
A medium diver.
Mm-hmm.
It can be rattling or non-rattling. It depends on the conditions. If it's windy and they're aggressive and eating, one with rattles made out of plastic, that one will be a little bit better. If it's clear water or the fish are a little bit finicky, I'm going to use one made of balsa wood, no rattles. And the last one here is the flat-sided crankbait. If they get finicky, they stop hitting crankbaits, or you get a cold front come through, it gets bitter cold, they're going to want one that has a tighter action. These crankbaits like that one, the balsa wood ones, they got a big, fat, bulbous body to have a wider wobble. You want one that has a tighter wiggle. So something like this, or like a shad wrap, or something like what's that one Strike King came up with? The chick magnet?
Chick magnet.
Yeah, that one. Something flat with narrow action will do better when it gets cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so why, Ryan, you said great for a cold front. And is it because of that tighter action? Is that what you were saying?
Well, the thing about rock crawlers and DT series crankbaits and Strike King, like 1.5 flats and stuff like that, 3XD series 3s, they have a wider wobbler hunting action to them when they're cranking. The flat sides basically crank like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is what you said.
It's a flutter.
Yeah,
okay.
But they're and then like this one, like what Jeremiah was saying, this one right here.
That's a Berkeley Fritz side.
It's a Berkeley Fritz side. It's a big one, and it has no rattle in it. All you can hear is the hooks. But this thing will deflect when the flat side. So the biggest thing too, when a regular crankbait with wide action deflects off of cover, when it hits, it will do like that.
Dart off the
Yeah,
side.
it's a ricochet.
Okay.
When a flat side hits, it will basically go,
And then just back up a little bit.
and it will very slowly rise. This one actually, they say on all the Fritz sides, they actually have them. This one actually says slow rise. So when this thing hits a piece of cover, so this is the rock, and it hits just like this.
Just slowly backs up.
Yep.
And sometimes they're sitting there right with that rock, and that thing just gets in their face. And like I always say, bass don't have what?
Hands.
Hands. What do they have though?
They've got a mouth.
They got a mouth. So if it gets in their face and they sit there and they look at it and they're like, get the hell out of here. They can't swat it away. All they do is open their mouth and grab at it.
Okay.
Another thing is
So
that
they grab it and kill it. They want to grab it and kill it.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily grabbing it in a cold front to eat it. They're grabbing it to kill it.
Territorial kind of.
Being territorial.
a
Okay.
lot of times they'll track it from ways off too.
Yeah.
Like they won't actually eat it right away. They'll follow it a little bit before they eat it. And so that's why you're catching fish when it's deflecting it. Either they're in the cover and they're eating it as it's bouncing off, or they'll follow it a little bit and then after it makes that deflection, then they're eating it. It's a
Okay.
reaction.
All right. You got another bait right over there. What you got? You got a couple more.
We've got a chatterbait.
All right.
And the chatterbait is basically the alternative to a spinnerbait. And the difference with the chatterbait also is that I like to fish it a little bit shallower than I would with a spinnerbait. The spinnerbait you can throw in, over, around, or through basically anything. The chatterbait I like to use predominantly where there's a lot of grass, and I'll use a spinnerbait where there's a little bit more wood. I like that around hard cover. Chatterbaits have a tendency to roll over and get hung whenever you're fishing trees and stuff like that with it, where the spinnerbait will just come out of it, especially if you're casting with the tree. If the tree is laying down in the water in front of you, you can throw a spinnerbait up against the base of it and reel it back down the branches, and it won't get hung. Whereas with the chatterbait, sometimes they roll over.
A little more. All right. So, Ryan, chatterbait, trailer hook, yes or no?
No, I don't throw one on. I don't.
None.
And you don't. All right. Soft plastic on a chatterbait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Different.
Different than the spinnerbait?
Yeah. I throw Believe it or not, I actually like when I throw a chatterbait.
And you don't throw it often.
No, I actually like the Big Bite Baits 4.25 Kamikaze.
Ooh, I love that.
Okay.
I like to rig it sideways, rig it straight up and down. Don't rig it where the tails are this way. Rig it where the tails are like this.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
So chatterbaits don't work as good anymore because Randy Blockhot said so.
Randy is a man of many opinions.
He has
Randy
many,
just comes up with whatever, man.
Many opinions. All right, before we get into the last couple, I want to take this time for our last sponsor right there, Jason Sayers with Elite Landscaping and Pressure Washing, and JNS. There's his Elite Landscaping and Pressure Washing right there. The phone numbers are the same, 706-816-2049, and he also owns JNS Construction. So if you got anything to do with your house, from an addition, a remodel, and probably even new construction, all the way down to your landscape and pressure washing needs, you guys need to give Jason a call. He services the Lake Oconee area. So what do they call it? Just Lake Country down there? Lake Country down there on 20 for all you guys down there watching from Oconee and Sinclair and all that. Give Jason a call, 706-816-2049. He's an absolutely outstanding guy, and he'll do you an absolutely fantastic job regardless of which way you want to go with his services. He does a little bit of everything. Give him a call right there. All right, so I see we pretty much gone over everything, but now we're bringing out the worm, the plastic, soft base. We've already gone through the trick worm. What you got going right there? It looks like you got a Berkeley General right there.
Can I add on to the chatterbait
trailers? You want to hit chat? Hit the chatterbait.
Let him hit his chatterbait trailers.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, I use four chatterbait trailers depending on the situation. One is a Spunk Shad by Hog Farmer. The second one is the Yamamoto Seiko.
Okay.
And the third one would be the Big Bite Baits Kamikaze, like he was saying. And the last one is some sort of a creature bait. I like a Berkeley Pit Boss on it sometimes because of the click. And you could substitute a Rage Craw, but I like the bulk on the Pit Boss.
Big bulk, yeah.
Okay, makes perfect sense.
Fat meal.
And always though, you turn your trailers to the side, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, especially like to turn it on the
profile
side when it's the Pit Boss because it's more of a bluegill profile versus a
Right.
shad. And when I'm imitating shad, I'll go one that's a little bit tighter. So I'll go with the Spunk Shad or something like that. Those conditions.
Okay. All right. Now let's get to the general you got going right there.
Okay. This is actually. I'm not sure.
Go ahead and rip it up. Rip it open. This is for the people, by the people, right?
All right. So we've got a stick worm. That is one of the best baits you can use during the springtime. I would like to use the bigger sizes, preferably anything in the 6-inch range versus the 5-inch range, unless they get picky. If they get finicky, I will go to the 5-inch one. But for most of my fishing, it's going to be the 6-inch, especially when I'm looking for a little bit bigger one. I'll even throw a 7-inch sometimes, and those things are huge. So the versatility of this bait during the springtime is insane. You can do all kinds of different things with it. You can wacky rig it. You can put it on a flick shake. You can Texas rig it. You can even use it as a jig trailer. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can Tokyo rig it, all different types.
Now, I like to throw it wacky rig. That's just my confidence bait. I like the Cinco throwing it wacky, even, now until on after the spawn. I think, especially with spotted bass. Spotted bass on Lanier, when them things move up, you can throw a wacky rig. And Ryan has seen it anywhere in the general vicinity, and them things will kill it. Like that. Now, you like throwing, you've gotten where you throw the wacky a little more.
Yeah, I start picking it up.
Picking it up a little more. Now, do you throw it on a bait caster?
No.
What do you throw it on, Ryan?
I throw it on a spinning rod.
One of them sissy rods.
10-pound braid, 8-pound fluorocarbon leader.
And tell me if it works.
It works.
Thank you. I can say he's finally come over to the dark side on the wacky worm like that. But you can rig it up
more on a wacky worm the past 3 weeks than I have anything else.
It works. There's just something about it. It works. I don't know. And again, a lot of guys like to, put the nail weight in it, make it more like a Nico, stuff like that. I will throw it weightless.
We can't see. What can we not see?
Oh, they can't see.
The worm.
The worm. Hold that up. My bad. TikTok, we're going to figure this out for you guys.
I don't use a standard wacky rig. I couldn't find any up there. I like to use the a flick shake head, a weighted wacky jig. I prefer to use those.
We've got a few. We've got some of the Berkeley Fusion weighted wacky heads.
Those ones I like to use.
Yeah. I actually, I will actually throw a weightless wacky rig over a brush pile, all year long. Listen, you can eat a sandwich and all that before it gets down to the bottom, but it's still deadly, even weightless. But right now, I think you would probably use the weight pretty much just to keep it down, get it there quick if you're fishing it.
Well, that, and also when you use a wacky jig versus a standard weightless wacky rig, it gives it a more pronounced action. So that weight pulling down on it makes it wiggle more on the way down. And also, since we're talking about the fish being active and aggressive and shallow during the pre-spawn, you can cover more water and fish that head faster than you can with a weightless one.
Okay.
If they get finicky on you, and you know that they're there, but they're not biting, then I'll probably go weightless with it. Weightless wacky rig and just let it kind of flutter down to them and keep it in their face a little bit longer. It's a slower drop.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask you both this question right here. If you're going, say, on
Sorry
near.
about that, Duncan.
Oh, what are you talking about on
He
TikTok?
said the screen got blurry for a second. Sorry about that.
Sorry
guys.
about that. Sorry about that. Absolutely. That's on our other internet. And if you live here in this part of North Georgia, for some reason, we have third world
We
internet.
got some people from Lake Hartwell watching tonight.
All right, Lake Hartwell. Good to see you
yeah.
guys right there. You're going out tomorrow.
Mhm.
Now, I know you like to predominantly bank fish, but I think this goes for both of you. What is your favorite pre-spawn cover to target? Is it rocks? Is it docks? Is it a blowdown? I'll let you start off with that, Ryan. If you see what turns you on when it comes to, as Dion would say, springtime fishing, you pull into something and you see it and your eyes just light up. What is it?
Well, that's a 2-answer question.
Okay, well, give me 2 answers.
In the morning, I like wood
Okay.
more than anything. In the morning, I like wood in the very backs of pockets and stuff. As the day goes on, especially if we have high skies and pure sun and no cloud cover,
Right.
then I turn to docks.
Okay.
I turn to docks pretty hard. A will fish rock, but I'd prefer I feel like the bigger females sit, especially if you have a lake that has wood structured docks or black float docks. The females will sit up real tight to those docks because the wood and the black floats hold heat better.
Okay.
Especially on a real sunny day, on a warm day. If you're out there fishing in the spring here in the next couple of weeks, and we have a day like what happened yesterday where it gets into the upper 70s, damn near 81 degrees, and it's sunny, and you can't get bit doing anything else, go fish docks.
Hit that shadow.
Go fish docks.
Using the shadow and the heat.
Combination of the shadow, combination. Sometimes you gotta let the fish tell you where they want to be.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll use the shade underneath the float to hide their eyes, but they'll be facing the sun.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll be on the shady side of them, on the shady side of the docks. If you get bit on the shady side of the docks, those fish are going to be really aggressive. They're going to come out and grab something. Accuracy isn't as big of a deal. The one thing that we haven't talked about though at all.
Well, let's talk about it.
Wood cover, docks, rocks, all that kind of stuff, especially wood cover, especially docks. Accuracy. Casting accuracy this time of year is probably far more important than anything else in the world.
Okay.
If you can't throw a spinnerbait or a chatterbait or something like that and basically clip the blade up against the side of a floating dock, you're going to have a hard time getting bit. If you can't accurately throw a spinnerbait or a chatterbait or something inside our square bill, inside a blowdown, and work it through that blowdown and basically be able to bang it off the cover of the wood in the blowdown, you are not going to get bit. You will catch some fish, but you will not get bit as good as you should. Okay. Accuracy is extremely, extremely important this time of year.
Yeah.
And you have to be accurate. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah. So that one more time about how you're throwing your spinnerbait. What do you need to do?
When you're throwing a spinnerbait this time of year, accuracy is by far the most important thing that you need to have in terms of casting. You have to be accurate. If you're not accurate, you're not going to catch as many fish.
And how close?
You almost want to clip the blades up against the dock.
Okay.
I mean, that's just the way that it is.
Yeah. And I've heard you say that 100 times.
Perfect example. Last year in March, we had one particular tournament. Caught a fish. I threw the spinnerbait up there first thing in the morning. I threw it down beside the dock. I heard the blades clink up against the side of the dock. I got my reel cocked and I made about 3 turns on that reel real slow, and it just got heavy. And I set the hook 604.
But it's got to be right
But
there,
I don't
Yep.
think that fish would have bit if I would have been a foot more to the right,
away from the dock.
away from the dock.
Okay.
Accuracy is extremely.
I've heard
extremely
you say that
important.
to a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremiah, what about you? What do you, especially like coming from the bank and stuff? Structure, blowdowns, rocks, docks. What are you looking for? What opens your eyes and says, "Oh yeah, this is a spot"?
It depends on the body of water and whether I'm targeting spots versus largemouth. But generally, if I'm on a big reservoir, I like to fish rocky secondary points in spring pre-spawn. Rocks on a secondary point, especially if it's outside of a creek mouth or something like that, they're going to stack up right there. And like Ryan was saying, you have to be really accurate because they're not as scattered as they are in the summertime. Summertime, they're all over the place, but pre-spawn, they're very concentrated. So you're going to get it in the same spot a bunch of times. But
well, let me ask you this: he's talking about throwing to a spinnerbait on a dock, and then you got to be clicking it
Mhm.
when you're making a cast to a secondary point, especially coming from the bank. Casting it past it, bringing it to them. Are you running it along the bank? I mean, how are you approaching it?
the way that I do it is
Because you don't have the use of electronics from
Right.
the bank, so you've got to use your knowledge of what it looks like.
You don't need electronics.
You don't
this
really,
time of
you
year.
really don't.
right.
But what are you looking at with that secondary point that says, okay, they're going to be there. I know it. That's where the fish should stack up. How are you going to approach that cast?
The way that I'm going to approach it is that I like to get on the edges of it first, try to guesstimate where it is. You can use different types of lures as a depth finder. Like I'll put on a heavy jig and I'll kind of drag it around and figure out where it's at. Like I can find the shallow spots on it and I can find the hard spots on it. And if I'm dragging it by, I can feel, okay, well, that's a rock right there. There's a tree down there right here. And I can kind of figure out where stuff is, and then I attack it with some kind of reaction bait. I'm not really fishing the jig to get bit or at that point. Sometimes I'll just throw out a Texas rig with nothing on it, or I'll throw out something. I'm not actually trying to.
You're trying to figure out. You're trying to mentally get a picture of what
I'm trying
you're
to
throwing
figure out what's down there. And
Okay.
sometimes I'll throw stuff with treble hooks on it on purpose just to see if I pull up grass or something like that. I'm trying to figure out what's there.
Mhm.
And then after that, then I actually fished it with baits that I'm trying to get bit on, like say the chatterbait or the spinnerbait or something like that. But those rocky points, generally I'm going with the crankbait. I want to make bottom contact all the way back in. And that's how I do for spotted bass. Now, largemouth, I'll fish secondary points also, but I'm looking more for grass there, grass and wood when I'm looking for largemouth. I look more for rocks for spotted bass.
A little more structure other than rock on that.
Oh, the other ones,
Yeah.
the other thing is if I can look at it on the lake map. A lot of reservoirs, we have lake maps for them, and you can download Navionics on your phone, and you can see how they're set up. If I can find a point that has, say, a creek channel or something running towards it, I know that there's going to be more likely fish there than there would be just random do-nothing points someplace else.
Okay. Ryan, I'm going to start you off with this question. How important is bait fish in the spring, in the pre-spawn? Wintertime, we're looking for bait. What about pre-spawn?
It's important up to a certain point in their phase of the spawn.
Okay.
Once they get ready to go, do the deed, they don't really hang around bait too much because their mind has shifted, their genetics have shifted. They're going to be going to the bank, they're going to be going to the backs, they're going to be going to the flats, they're going to be spawning.
Okay.
Looking to spawn. The whole period leading up to it is important with bait fish because they're basically feeding up because they know coming up here for the next 6 to 10 days, they're not going to have too many opportunities really to go out and just go feed like they want to feed because they have a responsibility to get ready to do. They got to make a bed. The males have to make a bed. The males have to guard the bed. The females are going to come lay their eggs. The female's going to hang around for a day or two. She's going to leave and she's going to go back to eat the buffet of bait after she recuperates.
Right.
The buck still has to hang around for a little while.
Well, I'm telling you, from those pictures we saw from Seminole today on the Elite Series, some of them fish need to get to eat. And you can tell they just came off. They're so skinny.
They and that's why they lose so much weight is a combination of them losing their eggs, laying their eggs, and then also they use up so much of their food source that they've been stored up to basically let themselves live without eating for a little while, for a couple of days.
Tyler Minix, your comment right there. You need to talk with old Steve Pinkston. Sometimes that sandwich and the play can go together, can't they?
Yeah.
Inside joke right there. I've never caught one on the tube. on the Elder Magic either. I don't know what that comment
means either.
is. That oh, what's his name? Are they playing with me right there? That ain't Slanger, is it?
I think so.
That's Slanger. All right, that's another inside joke you guys,
Um,
unfortunately, are not part of.
I got two things that I think would be useful for people this time of year.
Yeah.
First, I want to say that all those places where you guys were going out in the fall and following fish around and catching them in those certain places as they were making their way to their wintering spots. A lot of times, if you just do what you did in reverse, you'll find those fish pre-spawn. They'll make that transition that they made out to the deeper water, but they'll do it in reverse, going back
As
up
they
to
come
where
back in.
And the second piece of information I have for you, this is going to be a tidbit. If you find fish in the pre-spawn in a certain area, a lot of times they'll be there consistently year after year.
Mm-hmm.
So you can keep going to the same places doing the same thing generally, and you'll keep catching them pre-spawn after pre-spawn after pre-spawn.
That makes sense, and that kind of goes back to your docks too. So there's a certain time of the year where your eyes just light up with that spinner bait and docks. You know that they're going to be right there.
Yeah.
You got that. So all right, so let's transition. Yeah, so that's all you're going to say to that. Yeah. Like that. There's Steve Pinkston. I'll be glad to answer any questions. So let's make sure you message Steve personally, so we don't get into that whole comment again. All right, so before we wrap it up, we're about an hour and 40 in. Let's talk about, I guess, the next couple of weeks. Everything we talked about tonight is in play, or is there stages to these baits?
Nah, I mean, everything for me, I mean, I don't know what Jeremiah's opinion is, and we'll get his opinion certainly. Everything for me stays in play that we've talked about tonight.
How about this? Let's do this. What is the one thing you see guys throwing during the pre-spawn and you just shake your head?
I mean, I can't really go there because the one thing about the pre-spawn is if it works, it works.
They'll eat damn near anything.
I mean, if it works, I mean, it works.
So really,
it
nothing's
works.
off the table.
Yeah. The one thing that gets overlooked is that, and I.
He's thinking of how to say it right here.
I think I already know what he's gonna say.
I don't go running around telling this all the time, but one thing that you don't see a lot of guys throw too much of is a double blade buzz bait.
Oh, I knew it.
So top water.
If you catch 17, if you're fishing a tournament and you catch 17, 18, 19 pounds pre-spawn, and the day is moving along, and
you're looking for that kicker,
you just keep catching fish. Like, damn, this ain't gonna help. A buzz bait, it may, read my lips when I say this, it more times than not, it ain't gonna happen.
But if it did,
but if it does happen this time of year, tell your partner, if you're fishing with a partner, drop the damn rod and get the net, because it is a groaning.
Okay.
And it will. The other thing too, buzz bait fishing, you're going to be expecting a kabloosh.
But that's not what's
no. When you get a bite on a buzz bait, you're going to throw it back there, and it's just going to be, and it's just going, and you're going to look. See, oh, there's a squirrel. It's going to be, damn buzz bait's gone. Better set the hook.
Gotcha.
Because they just come up behind it and they'll slurp it under.
Okay.
They won't crush it like they normally do. I'm not saying they won't crush it, but the bites that I've had on it, like this time of year, it's just
gotcha.
And cross their eyes and hope and pray to the fishing guys that you get into the boat.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's
a groaning. It's a big one.
Okay.
It is mama.
Mama's there.
It is grandma is really what it is.
Grandma.
Yeah.
Several generations down.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremiah, same question to you. Something you see that just makes you go like, or a little tidbit that we haven't talked about tonight.
Something that people would throw in the springtime pre-spawn that I don't really think is all that successful would be Probably the walking baits, especially when they're walking like super fast. It's just not
So certain
that
top
effective.
water.
Certain top waters. However, like he was saying, top water gets overlooked. What I found is the magic water temperature is 50. As long as the water temperature stays at 50 or hovering around 50, they'll come up and eat it. You have to slow them down. I like to take a buzz bait and put a horny toad on the back of it. I don't even use the ones with the skirt. I'll just take the skirt off and I'll fish the toad itself on the back of a buzz bait, or I'll fish a popper. A popper is a good bait that you can use around cover. You can make it stay in the strike zone for longer. You may have to let it sit for 10 seconds. You have to go bloop, 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 let it sit, count to 10, pop it once, count to 10, 12, and they'll come up and sip and just pull it down. But like you were saying, a lot of times you won't get numbers on it really until the weather starts to, really until, I want to say almost post-spawn, when they start eating topwater really good. But
you have the possibility of that big.
it's a big one. I've caught a lot of
that
6
big
and 7
fish.
pounders on a buzzbait in February.
Okay.
You get some good ones.
So I've seen Paul mark out in 30 foot of water throwing a horny toad out of a kayak last week. It can happen. It can happen. What do you guys think about a jerk bait pre-spawn?
Great.
Yes,
Depending on the jerk bait.
it's
All right.
good, but it's overfished nowadays in the spring.
A lot of people
throw
are throwing them.
But it's not as easy to it's not as easy to catch them on jerk bait now as it used to be. It used to be you just go throw a jerk bait, right? All else fails, they ain't the back pockets. Go find you a rocky secondary point, go throw a jerk bait. You'll catch some.
Yeah. You can still catch them, but you think they're a little more conditioned to it.
It's not as easy anymore.
Okay.
I don't know if live scope has anything to do with that or not. But
Live scope's got a lot to do with a lot of things for sure, Nate. But you said depends on the jerk bait. Now, which jerk bait do you like to throw?
A lot of people don't realize that there's categories to jerk baits. Within every fishing lure category, there are subcategories. And so with
Correct.
jerk baits, I like to put them down into 3 different ones. So you have jerk baits, rip baits, and twitch baits. Switch baits are the ones that are super subtle. Some of them don't even have a lip on them. You just kind of twitch them, and they kind of hover in place or they slow sink. The jerk baits, you give them hard, quick snap. Those are your standard jerk baits. They cut left and right and then suspend. And they have a little bit tighter action. And then you have rip baits. Those are the ones that have the round bodies and the short round bills, and you can hit them hard as you want to, and they fly out left and right.
Much more erratic.
Yeah, very aggressive, much more aggressive. So as the water is warming up, I'm fishing faster and more aggressively. I'm going to go with something like, say, I don't really want to go with the Smithwick Rogues, but something shaped like that with a round body and a round bill. And when they get aggressive, when they're not as aggressive, and when the water's colder, I'll go to like a Vision 110 or something like that.
Hit my little power mode right there on my phone. All right, so we're like I said, we're about an hour and 50, and you guys have pretty much given out a ton of information tonight for the pre-spawn. And again, I think we've there's a little bit of everything you guys have mentioned. I guess at the end of the day, you just fish what you feel comfortable with, fish your strengths. But there's a lot of different ways that you can catch fish in the pre-spawn. So before I end this, I'm going to give you each one last bit of advice, tip, whatever, as far as pre-spawn fishing. Ryan, I'll let you start. Just one thing that maybe we haven't covered tonight. I want to make sure we get it all in before we call it a night.
Biggest advice for pre-spawn fishing is don't give up on something that easy.
Stick with it.
Stick with something. Stick with it. Stick with it.
Stick with it. Stick with it. Stick with it.
Stick. You know, stick. Don't pick up a bait and throw a bait for 10 minutes and then say they ain't eating it and then pick up something else. Cover some water. You know,
figure it out.
I challenge you. For those of you who do it, I challenge you to, if you have a boat, I challenge you to turn the graphs off and just go fish.
Okay.
Fish the visible color. Fish the obvious stuff.
They're there.
They should be there. You know? Right. You don't need the graph to tell you. You know, you don't need live scope to tell you.
I got you.
If they're supposed to be there, they're there. If they ain't there, I promise you this, it ain't gonna take no. Golly, where they at? No, move, go somewhere else. Go, move.
But just stick with that.
Yeah,
stick with that.
Yeah,
good advice, Jeremiah. You?
Yeah, they got them folks everything I'll give them for free. I don't know about that. All right. Always fish a jig. Always fish a jig. It's a great big fish bait any time of the year, especially if you put a big bulky trailer on it. And when you find them, the hardest part of catching fish is finding them in the first place. But if you're out there and you're pre-spawn fishing and you find your numbers, you're on fish number 10, 12, 7 out of the same spot, double back and fish one of those bigger baits or bigger fish techniques, and you can normally pick off the ones that were not there to are not aggressive enough to eat something like a spinnerbait that you were burning down the bank. If you catch a bunch of fish in a certain area or using a certain technique, you can normally double back and catch them, catch the ones that are less active, or get the bigger ones out of the same school or out of the same area by switching it up, slowing down, using a little bit bigger bait. Okay. Like I say, always fish a jig, go ahead with the swim bait. Throw this at them. If they're eating that spinnerbait really good or whatever, come behind it with this. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be the lucky person that pulls the 8-pounder out of the school of 2-pounders.
Okay, hey, good advice. So, guys, with that, we're going to wrap up our pre-spawn episode. Again, I want to thank Ryan and Jeremiah for giving you guys a lot of information, for Paul for working it. Guys, if you're watching on TikTok, we do this every Thursday night at 8 o'clock. We'll have it on again. And you guys on YouTube and all that, listen, thank you for your continued support, and we appreciate you. I love seeing comments, watching from Dallas, watching, seeing people out of state and all that. We absolutely love that. So, again, until next week, you guys have a safe week. If you're going out on the water, it's going to be raining this Saturday in Georgia. So, hey, dress appropriately, take care, be safe.
YouTube channel, right?
Oh, he's giving them the stuff. Make sure tell them they can go back and watch it later, guys. Hey, we appreciate it. Next week, got a striper round table, so that's going to be interesting. Going to have a lot of the local experts on that, so it'll be another good evening of fish talk. Something we do every day here at the shop, and we're glad we're allowed to share that with you. So you guys have an absolutely fantastic weekend. Again, if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and click that notification bell. You guys have a blessed weekend. We will see you next Thursday.
Good night,
guys
everybody.
on TikTok.
Good night.